Hey, it's Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm. How are you? It's Monday, so we got an awesome guest today, and we're going to Brooklyn, New York. We're going to Circa Brewing Company, and we interviewed the head brewer, Drew Kostic, and he's making great beer down there. We have a lot of ideas we talked about. We're going to make it happen. And we got a great show for you today. Hey, if you haven't gone on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening to, and give us a rating and a review or subscribe. Actually, all three would be awesome. If you could subscribe, would be fantastic. That would help me out tremendously. I mean, it gets the podcast more known. A lot more people see it. And, it just promotes us and it promotes craft beer and what we're trying to do. We're trying to promote breweries. And, we have Circa Brewing Company this week, and we had a great conversation. So here we go. And we have Drew Kostic. He's the head brewer of Circa Brewing Company. How's it going, Drew?
Doing very well. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad we got connected. I've kind of relocated back to New York, so we were talking briefly before the podcast, and I'd like to just get involved with a lot more New York breweries. I interviewed somebody the other day, Torch and Crown, and they're going to be opening in Manhattan. But there's a lot of breweries in New York, which is awesome. And I'm back in the. This is where I grew up, actually, in New York. I'm up in Westchester, so I'm very excited about the beer scene. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I'm very familiar with. I grew up right outside in Connecticut. Was born in Manhattan myself, so it was coming back home for sure. My whole family has been focused around New York for a long, long time.
Yeah, I'm a kind of the nomad. I kind of go. I lived in England for 5 years, and then we came back to New York briefly, and then I got a director of audit job. We were talking about that too. I'm a CPA, and I got a director.
You and I are kindred spirits.
We are a director of audit job up in New Hampshire, and then that thing went away after 3 years, and I opened a brewery, so I became a brewer. And you have the same story too. I guess you're an attorney. You were an attorney, and then now you're a head brewer at Circa, which is cool.
I consider myself not to overquote Lou Gehrig, but geez, the luckiest man. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity to make this switch. It was a lot of work, as I think to make this switch, but I couldn't be a happier man as a result of it because of what I get to do every day. I mean, it used to be, as I like to tell people, it used to be what I did on the weekends. I'd visit breweries and brew beer, and now I just do it 5 days a week as a job. Like, what's better than that?
No, you follow your passion, and that's why I started it as well. I mean, because I had a passion for it. But tell me about your story. You also have an interesting story, a background, and how'd you get into beer, and then how'd you end up at Circa?
Yeah, so I mean, I started at the earliest of ages, legal ages at least, in brewing, and started actually homebrewing at 21 when an old roommate left a homebrewing kit at our fraternity house, essentially, and I took it that summer and brewed it and was hooked. But it wasn't really until the year after college when I was lucky enough to work as an English and psychology professor at a university in Poland on a Fulbright scholarship, where I was really indoctrinated. I ran into my two of my lifelong friends and two of the craziest men I could ever imagine. The Bards is how we refer to them in my family. Both Flemish Belgians who just really turned me on to beer. And I mean, there was one moment that absolutely captivated it. It was we're sitting there in this must have been the fall of 2008. And they just come back from Belgium, and they brought some bottles of beer with them. And they weren't fighting over what beer to pour. They weren't fighting over what glass to pour it in, but they were actually fighting over, the angle at which they could pour the beer and what angle would produce the proper head. And I'm telling you, I don't know if you know Flemish, but it's a very, very ugly language to listen to somebody yell at you in, and they're screaming at each other back and forth in this language just over the amount of head that's going to be poured onto this beer. And that's when something clicked in the 23, 24-year-old me saying, oh man, there's something to this. And
it's intense,
after that,
right?
yeah, I mean, it's a rabbit hole. You start following it down. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine you have a similar story.
Yeah, I mean, Belgians, especially, well, Poland has awesome beer too. I love Polish beer. And the whole region there, the Czech Republic, Poland,
it's totally
Bratislava. I went to Slovakia once. I had to do some work in Bratislava. Awesome beer, man, and cheap food, but delicious food and delicious beer is awesome. I could have stayed there.
Yeah, you can't beat Eastern Europe. It's an incredible place to live sometimes.
Oh yeah. But so you met the Belgians, and what happened?
And they just turned me on to beer, and really, I was already down the path towards the legal system, towards law school, and the brewing and the Belgians, so to speak, connected, and they overcame the legal need, or what I realized was the legal reality, which was something that was not going to make me happy. And was not a viability for the rest of my life. And so through a slow, concerted effort, I kind of used that beginning that I had through both home brewing and through my experience living in Europe for a while to develop this drive and this slow process towards basically reaching the position I'm at now, which is running a brewery myself and essentially as the brewer for a 7-barrel system top to bottom, which is exciting and scary and amazing all at the same time.
That's cool. What kind? So you have a 7-barrel system. What kind is it? Is the brew house?
It's an American brewing equipment, so an ABE system.
Oh, okay,
and,
yeah.
I might say I have to plug this. I certainly don't get any money for this, but shout out to the ABE technicians. They're phenomenal.
Really?
I get them on the phone all the time, and I have to say they couldn't be more helpful people than the people out there in Nebraska. And when they travel around to, ABE has been doing wonderful work, and I'm so sorry for doing a shameless plug, but again, I get no money for it. I just love the customer service I've gotten from them.
Yeah, I know somebody used to work for American Brewing Equipment, and actually I tried to set up another brewery in Massachusetts. It didn't work out, but they were very, very helpful in kind of, providing me with a layout of what I can put in the space and, the technical and the equipment that they were going to sell me was very good. So, it's a great company. I connected with them last time at the Craft Brewers Conference. I'm going back again to San Antonio this year.
We're sending our general manager. She won the coin toss.
Oh, she did. I got to connect with her out there. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place. Awesome people. Really good place. Just you meet all the people in the brewing industry, the craft beer world. They're really fantastic people. That's what drew me to it as well. I mean, great people.
Well, I'm excited. I've got beers in World Beer Cups, so fingers crossed.
Oh, cool. That's right. They're going to have it there too. All right, in tandem. That's cool.
Yep, it's tied together. So
awesome.
Hopefully we'll see how it goes.
We'll see what happens. You got to be in it to win it. That's what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so then you ended up, I guess you came back to the States, and then what'd you do here? You were with some other breweries, or you came right to Circa? Or?
So it was, like I said, a bit of a low slog, a slow process. It started through law school, continued to brew through that, and went to practice law thinking, well, I put in a lot of money towards school. It was a profession that I trained myself for through 3 years, and I tried to practice, and I found that I just wasn't really happy, which I did. I'll be honest with you. It was acknowledgeable by year 2 in law school, but it was something that I committed myself to, and I thought I'd see it through. And I worked my way through different jobs in the legal profession and just did not find really anything that drove me or captured me. And
Uh-huh.
At some point, I finally decided I have to see my way out of here. And I just began exploring other options, and one of which I found through Basic Brewing Radio was the Auburn Brewing Sciences and Brewery Operations program, which was at that time a really nascent program, my year being the third year. And it was an incredible opportunity to both remotely and part-time, while I worked as a clerk at a federal court, I could do all of this work on the side towards learning about brewing and learning about operating and running a business as a brewery. And one of the main components of it was an internship, which led me to have the opportunity to work at Strong Rope Brewing, which, I have to give another shout out to a local New York City brewery, doing 100% New York State ingredients. But I was lucky enough to work there for my internship and to learn the ropes, to learn the tri-clamps, so to speak, in terms of the industry. And that's what kind of led me on the path.
Wow. Yeah, you get into it and you get the bug, and then you're like, all right, I can't do this law anymore. I think you followed your passion, and the law makes the money. It's great. I still do the, CPA accounting and audit stuff because it's ridiculous money that I can't really pass up.
I was going to say more power to you. More power to you, man.
I can't do it. I got to, support for kids and whatever. But but I'm looking to, grow this podcast, and it is growing because I have all this knowledge, and I'm like, I can do this podcast. I'm listening to other podcasts, and I wasn't really impressed, so I kind of did my own. But we'll see.
I'm honored to be a part of it. Thanks for inviting.
That's cool. No, I'm glad you came on. We love to have people like you. So, Circa. Do you know where did they get the name from? Circa Brewing Company.
Yeah, it's kind of an ambivalent story, to be honest with you, and I will give upfront true honesty that I didn't come in until about a year after the brewery had been up and running, and I started as the assistant brewer, even part-time, as I was working as a lawyer, and slowly grew my way to become the head brewer. But it's kind of descriptive of our approach to everything and our background. It's Circa being ever encompassing, almost omnipotent in terms of the term. Circa just describes the world going around, the circle going around, and so it runs with the notion that we have a restaurant as well as a bar as well as a brewery. We have a brewery in front of you at the same time. We have a background from all the different places around the world, which influences our different foods and our different beers, because one of my personal philosophies is brewing a beer rainbow, so to speak, and to make all different styles of beer from all different places around the world to kind of attract different palates and to bring different people in. And so kind of Circa embraces the notion that we're just going throughout all the stages, all the different evolutions of the different types of places and things and ideas we can create.
But you have like a wide range of beer. I'm looking on your website here. You have a dry Irish stout, and you also
that's a very important one. Yeah,
a Los Lobos lager. So you got like a kind of an Irish thing.
That's my baby, the Los Lobos.
Oh yeah, so it's kind of totally opposite, different type of beers. But I can understand about the Circa. Then you got a double IPA, which everybody has an IPA. Then you go to Germany and you have a Hefeweizen. So you got a lot of different styles of beer.
But I actually have to. Should we get nerdy for a second? Can I talk about my Hefe for a hot second?
Sure.
My Hefeweizen, I don't know how I don't know how you brew one yourself, but I like to arrest my fermentation only at 78 degrees. I don't actually like to let it free rise too high. because I feel like it brings out more banana bubblegum flavors in the final product as opposed to phenolic ester flavors. And I just get that type of flavor is what draws me to a Hefeweizen. I don't know. Is that your style?
It's either a clovey. It depends, and you're right. It depends on the temperature that you ferment it at. You could either be clovey or it could be banana-like. So, I mean, mine is kind of, it was kind of a mix, I mean, you could taste both of them. So I'm not as sophisticated as you are in terms of an exact temperature. I mean, as long as it was between,
I wouldn't call me
sophisticated. But you were at 78's pretty high.
Nerdy is more appropriate terminology.
Did you say 78?
78, yeah. 78 is just the temperature I drilled in on as my way. And it doesn't always have to go up there. I mean, the temperature changes throughout seasons obviously alter slightly the fermentation process. No,
we kept it. I was kind of middle of the road. You got to keep it between 65 and 75. So I kept it at 72. And let that yeast work out.
Well, I know people go up to 90 in the 90s and get wild with it. So.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but then there's a risk of bacteria and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, you can probably, I don't know, it might be okay, but I was just kind of I just didn't want to risk it, not
at all. Not my idea too.
If I did 5 gallons at home, I'd do that. All right, let me leave it outside or something.
I like to tell people that brewing is 90% cleaning. We're glorified janitors, and all I'm about is being as clean as humanly possible.
Absolutely, it's glorified janitor. That's what it is. Glorified, But you have to be clean, otherwise you destroy everything. And when we have the glycol chiller, for the fermenter, make sure that temperature stays at between that 65, 75. And when it gets hot inside, we turn that thing on, and in the winter it's a little better. But usually between that, it's usually like 72. Let it go. And then you have other things here too, like a wheat. You have a chocolate porter. You have a brut beer, which is awesome. Brut IPA.
Oh yeah, so we are actually out of the brew right now. We just have to update the website, but that one took a little scientific research on my part. But I found if you get amyloglucosinate, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but amylo for short, get that in with your yeast at a certain point in the fermentation, it actually breaks down the higher level of sugars that the yeast originally could not eat, allowing for it to create a much more champagne-like, much drier feel, but also a higher ABV, a really interesting finish. And I found if you carbonate it to a very nice, for lack of a better word, brute-like carbonation, it really makes it shine, especially if you throw a little biofine and clear it out and make it even look like champagne.
Yeah, the carbonation is key. And these beers, we talk about different strains of yeast too. Like a Hefeweizen is a different strain of yeast. Your brut IPA is a different strain of yeast. So that will kind of lends it to the style that's made. So interesting. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and hey, I always say beer is the vehicle of infinite variables, and that's the beauty of it. We're talking about different strains of yeast. We're talking about different temperatures. Good Lord, we could do an entire podcast, you and I, just talking about water, I'm sure. We talk about hop time, hop temperature, all of these types of things alters a beer in such an unbelievable character.
It's a big science experiment, yeah.
Exactly.
And then you can add stuff to it. Like we did cake, which is our porter. I made a nice porter, and then we infused like 30 pounds of Oreo double stuffed cookies and like 5 gallons of cold brew coffee.
I can't wait to tell my girlfriend about this. We need to get some immediately.
Oh, forget it. It's gone. It's gone. I can make it at your brewery. We could do like I'm gonna travel around some breweries and start making my stuff at breweries and maybe have a launch.
Come on over, man. Come on over.
We'll do it together. I got my recipe. We'll do it. Oh, it'll be nuts. People loved it. It went nuts. I was in the magazines, like New Hampshire magazine. They published it, and I didn't know they were going to publish it about my, I talked to somebody like in the fall and they published it in the spring, and then people were emailing me, calling me like, where's this cake thing? I'm like, I don't have any. And like, well, there's one store that had it. So I told them it was there, and then they just all flocked to that store.
They just got bum rushed.
And then the store emailed me like, what the hell's happening? Everybody came to the store. So I'm like, it's a good beer. It's gone, So we made more of that, and people love that stuff. So,
Mike, I tell you not, I literally, on my way home from the brewery today, bought my girlfriend double stuffed Oreos.
Oh, yeah,
she asked me for something sweet, and I bought her double stuffed Oreos because I knew it's her freaking favorite. So this has to happen, man. You
got some coffee and some porter, boom, Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll talk after the podcast, and we'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
I love to do that. I want to do that. I don't, I'm selling the brewery up in New Hampshire. It's kind of, I did what I had to do there and kind of gravitating towards the podcast, but I also like to I like work with brewers and maybe do some collaboration beers. I mean, I'd love to do that,
Well, it sounds like an absolute blast. Man.
Yeah. So Circa, and then you have, the New York City Beer Week is coming up too, which is awesome, and I want to get involved with that as well. What's happening there? You guys are there. What are you doing for the Beer Week?
It's extremely exciting. It's kind of, we're going into the biggest week of my year, so to speak, and of most of the New York City brewers. As part of the New York City Brewing Guild, we have New York City Beer Week coming up starting on the 22nd. Saturday the 22nd is our opening bash, and we're going to have tons of breweries. I'd say over 80 breweries, both from New York, from outside, and it's going to be quite the event at the Brooklyn Expo Center in Williamsburg. So look online for tickets for that. But on top of that, there's going to be numerous events throughout the entire week leading up to the Rupert's Cup, which Circa is hoping to win. So please go on nycbrewed.com and vote for Circa, if I may say so. That is a not so shameless plug because I'm gunning to win the Rupert's Cup, which is the best brewery in New York. And we have an event on February 29th, which, as you know, Mike, is not your normal day of the year, but a special day because it's our leap year day.
Right.
And so we have a leap year event going on the 29th. That's going to have a scavenger hunt of all the different things you would do on a day that would not normally be part of the year because it's not something you would normally do in your normal year. Uh-huh. So it's all crazy stuff, all fun stuff, and going to be a blast with a lot of beer and food. So please come join us there.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff going on. I see. That's interesting.
Oh, we're coming into it. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be a busy week.
Awesome. If you're in the New York area, you got to go check it out. But and then you were mentioning you're like a movie star too. You're on this Brewmaster, the Amazon Prime. So you're everything: a lawyer, brewer, movie star, like South by Southwest, Brewmaster. Tell us more about that. How did you get involved in that? And you got to give them my name and number too. I want them to come back.
I know, seriously. Well, I'd be happy to hook you up. It was a very fortunate set of circumstances, and my loud mouth being one of those circumstances. I would say, I was at the time a lawyer. I was in school studying to be a brewer, planning on changing my life, writing the business plan, doing all that crazy stuff, and moonlighting home brewing as much as I possibly could. And one of my friends was a producer on a documentary film crew that was looking into doing a documentary on craft beer. And they said, hey, we want a talking head of a real big beer nerd, some guy who loves beer and loves talking about beer. And she goes, I got just the guy. So they come in and they say, yeah, we're going to do a couple hours. You're going to be a talking head from the fan side, whatever. And so I talked for a while, and I keep talking because, well, I don't do much else, but I keep talking. And I told them about school. I told them about my plans. And from those 4 hours, it turned into 8 months and hundreds of hours later. And all of a sudden, it became a documentary about myself and another gentleman who was studying to be a master cicerone. And I couldn't imagine anything better getting to walk the red carpet at South by Southwest. And seeing my ugly mug on the screen was quite a surreal experience. And now to see it, and I might say it's on Amazon Prime. For anybody who's got Amazon Prime, you can check it out. And it's a crazy experience to think that I can capture that aspect and that time in my life when my beard was so short. And I was actually in slightly better shape. I just finished running a marathon, so I was.
You did. You run marathons
beer
too.
All day.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you run?
Only one. Only a marathon, not plural. Never again.
No.
I did my best time, and I'll never do that again. Yeah, I learned my lesson.
I do one every year, actually. I do one. Well, in 2018, I did DC. I did the Marine Marathon. And then last year I did New York City.
I hear that's a good one.
I did New York City last year. That kicked my ass.
Right. It's the most incredible day of your life.
It's fantastic.
So great.
Yeah, the people, it's fantastic. It was fantastic. I mean, running over those bridges, running over the Verrazano and running over the Queensboro kicked my butt because I was just I'm going to take this bridge, and I just went nuts. I just went, at the end of it.
You hit First Avenue there, and everybody's on your side. It's the only time people always love to hit on New Yorkers for being, a rough bunch and not a friendly bunch. But you come to New Yorkers on Marathon Day. That's not the truth at all. We're all out. And I live on the marathon course. You get your name on there. Everybody's yelling your name. They love it.
Yeah, in Brooklyn, I was saying in Brooklyn, it's like, yo, Mikey, go, Mikey. And then you get into Manhattan, it's like, go, Mike. And then you get into the Bronx and like, hey, Miguel. Hey, keep going. It's like you experience the whole city in like one day, but it's fantastic.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It was a great experience, and I'd like to do it again in the future. I'm going to do Dublin this year, actually. I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to do Dublin.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. My hat's off to you, man.
So
the day afterwards, I crawled around the floor. I could not
I was a mess after, because I had a minor cold, before the marathon. So like mile 20, my chest was like killing me. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
No,
I finished, but the 2 days afterward, I had a full-blown cold. I felt like a piece of garbage, and but I was okay. And then that week later, I was okay. So, but so you got the Amazon Prime, you got the events coming up, and then at your brewery, you got some events. You got the Rupert's Cup. You entered into the. You're in the World Cup this year, right? World Beer Cup.
Yeah, we're in the World Beer Cup that coming up in San Antonio, and we're going to enter into the New York State Cup as well. So, awesome. we're gonna throw it out there. We're gonna see what Circa Beer can do, and fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll impress somebody.
We got to make cake. How about this? We'll make cake and we'll enter it into one of these things. It'll freaking win, man.
Great American Beer Festival.
It'll win
in September. Let's make it happen.
Hey, I'm going back. They give me media passes every year, so.
Oh, there you go.
Let's figure it out.
I've never been, so I need to make a trip. I sent my little brother there a year or two ago. I never got a chance to go myself. We had an event that
we got to coordinate it because there's deadlines and stuff like that. You got to have the beer brewed, and then you got to send it in by a certain date, and you got to pay.
Don't you worry, I'm ready. I've sent my beer in. Last year, I was lucky enough to send a beer to in the finals. Did not medal, but we made the finals. So fingers crossed.
Look out, because cake's coming back. Cake's coming back.
Amen.
All right. Okay. So. Yeah, awesome. I got to come. Now, what part of Brooklyn are you in?
We're in downtown Brooklyn, so we're in a fascinating neighborhood. You walk off the Brooklyn Bridge, and we are the first place that you can go get yourself a beer. Well, at least a brewery beer, so to speak. And so we're in a great little neighborhood that's ever evolving. The first time I used to work back here was 2011. It was a very different place, but it's a great atmosphere. It's really fun. It's an event space too. We have office parties. We've had weddings, if you can believe that. Like I said, full bar, full kitchen, pizza made from scratch. The kitchen, I can say, because I don't make any of the food. The food is out of this world good. It's so delicious. You just got to come by and try it, man. Come on, come have dinner with me. What are you doing? Come over and
I know. I got to come. I'm on this fitness program right now, 75 hard. So 75 days. I haven't drank a drop of alcohol in like 31 days.
Good,
and
I
got another. I don't know how. I can't even count. I'm just. Well, anyway, 70 after day 70. So April 3rd. After April 3rd, I can come down. I was going to
say day 76. You're welcome to Circa immediately. Yeah.
We'll come down. Yeah, absolutely. But hey, it was good stuff, man. You guys got I see the pictures online, and you got some good food. I see there, and. You got some good beer. I could see it. It's making me thirsty. But I got to stay good on this program. But afterwards, I will come down. But how can people get a hold? How can people get a hold of you guys if they want some more information?
So they can check us out at circabrewing.co. So Circa Brewing Co. instead of .com.
Oh, okay.
We're Circa Brewing Co. on Instagram as well. Come check out. We've got some crazy cool videos and pictures we just threw up to promote Beer Week recently. And just come down to downtown Brooklyn. We're off of numerous train stations. If you're in New York, you got the FAC, the R, the 2-3 and the G. Not to alienate any non-New Yorker podcast listeners there, but if you're in the area, come have some food, come hang out, and if you're here, just yell, "Hey, Drew!" and I'm behind the bar, working away furiously on my mash.
Wow. Are you near Atlantic Avenue over there, or no?
Yeah, very close, very close.
Okay, so that's why everything stops over there. Okay, that's a big train.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it now. Okay, so, hey, this has been a great conversation. I'm glad you came on, and we're going to kick ass at GABF.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're doing it. You know we have to do this now. Awesome. If we don't do this, it would just be bad.
No,
I love the idea.
There you go.
Yeah, I love the idea.
It's Etched Podcast.
Boom. All right. Hey, hey, listen, I appreciate you coming on, Drew, and I wish you the best. And we're going to connect soon in April. I'm going to come down and sample your stuff. But I appreciate what you're doing. Keep going. Looks great. Everything looks great. And, we'll talk to you soon.
Well, pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, that was Drew Kostic. He was the head brewer of Circa Brewing Company, and they're in Brooklyn, New York. And he's a former lawyer. And, we're kind of kindred spirits. Like he said, I'm a CPA, and beer is our passion. So he became a brewer. And he went to Circa Brewing Company. He knew the Belgians, and he worked in Poland. It's all great stuff, great beer, great knowledge. And, they're involved in New York City Beer Week, and just good stuff, and going to try to get that Rupert's Cup, best brewery in New York, and he entered into the World Beer Cup, and we talked about cake. My cake, Oreo-infused Java Porter. Try to brew some with him. We'll get into the GABF. That would be freaking awesome. And I'm going to talk to him and make it happen. But that's your podcast for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Do me a massive favor. Go on iTunes. Give us a rating, review, subscribe. That'd be fantastic. I would love that. That'd be fantastic. But that's what we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions, comments, michael@craftbeerstorm.com. If you know any breweries, brewers, people in craft beer world, we're 360. Send them my way. Connect us. Connect us via email. I'll get them on. We're getting a lot more people on, a lot more breweries, and it's just growing. The whole movement is growing, which is fantastic. We want to focus in on these local breweries and get them known, and make sure people know about them, that they're in their neighborhood. And New York is full of breweries. I'm psyched. That's what we have for today. I hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you Wednesday. We'll pick another beer style off the Great American Beer Festival list, and we're going to explore it. So come on back on Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon.